a second-year master's student in urban and regional planning at the University of Michigan, Stauman College. Before I begin the presentation, I'd like to briefly introduce this project. I've been working with the Oakland County on a climate vulnerability assessment. As a part of this, I developed a step-by-step toolkit to help local municipalities identify and respond to climate risk. The toolkit breaks down complex climate data into clear, actionable steps. The goal is to bridge the gap between climate science and local decision-making. This is the Oakland County team I got to work with this summer. I'm really thankful for my mentor Nicole and technical advisor team. Their support and guidance helped me so much throughout the project. I also had a great time working with CLC Fellows. I want to thank Sarah, Fatima, Alex, Ivana for being so supportive and fun to work with. And finally, big thanks to Grand Sustainability Institute for putting this fellowship together and making it such a wonderful experience to us. This is one of my final deliverables. It was created to help local municipalities in Oakland County identify climate vulnerabilities and develop equitable adaptation strategies. It's especially designed for small-sized communities that may not have technical experts. By using low-barrier tools and replicable formats, the toolkit makes the process accessible to users with a wide range of technical backgrounds. The framework follows a 6-step process grounded in the IPCC vulnerability tool. The toolkit includes a variety of resources from editable templates and indicator tables to risk prioritization matrices and adaptation strategy guides. Tools like MiEJScreen allow even non-GIS users to easily map climate risk and social vulnerability at the local level. Another final deliverable is a sample assessment I developed using the city of Ferndale to show how the toolkit can be applied in practice. So let's dive into the content. A climate vulnerability assessment is a strategic tool used to evaluate how climate change may impact a community or system. It's based on the IPCC framework, which breaks vulnerability into 3 core components. First, exposure, the extent to which a system is likely to experience a climate hazard such as extreme heat or flooding. Second, sensitivity. It is how severely the system will be affected if exposed. For example, older infrastructure or vulnerable populations may be more sensitive. Third, adaptive capacity, the system's ability to prepare for, respond to, and recover from those impacts. So why do local municipalities need this toolkit? Many small communities don't have in-house climate experts or technical staff to lead their own vulnerability assessments. Often, they also lack clear guidance on where to find data, how to interpret it, or how to carry out the full assessment process. That's why toolkits like this are so important. They help local governments not only identify climate risks, but also take action in ways that are practical and achievable. It's not just about identifying the problem, it's about building tools they can actually use. This toolkit supports communities by helping them identify local climate risks, make informed data-driven decisions, establish long-term systems for monitoring and adaptation, and move forward even with limited GIS or climate planning capacity. The climate change isn't a distant or future threat, it's already impacting our communities right now. Oakland County experienced historic flooding, increasing frequent heat waves, and power outages caused by severe windstorms. These events are no longer rare. In fact, since 1951, the Great Lakes regions has warmed by over 2.3 degrees Fahrenheit. And during the same time, annual precipitation has increased by 14% with a sharp rise in a heavy rainfall events. This is a climate vulnerability assessment 6 steps. First, understanding types of climate hazards. Second, screening and selecting priority hazards. Third, identifying community systems and vulnerable assets. And fourth, assessing vulnerability through hazard system theory. Fifth, creating a risk prioritization matrix. And sixth is synthesizing research and planning next steps. I will go through each steps. Step 1, identifying climate hazards. Climate risks vary by region, but they often fall into a few common categories. For example, extreme heat has become more frequent and intense, especially in urban areas. Inland flooding is another growing concern, particularly in communities with aging infrastructure and more intense rainfall. Air quality degradation is also considered, often caused by wildfire, smoke, or pollution. And winter hazards like snowstorms and strong wind events can disrupt power and mobility. These are just a few of the climate hazards that communities in Oakland County may need to prepare for. To identify municipalities' climate hazards, I suggest a combination of national and regional data sources. GLISA provided regional climate trends and long-term projections specific to the Great Lakes, including temperature and precipitation changes. And NOAA helped understand long-term climate projection and historical hazard patterns across the U.S. And MiEJScreen allowed to explore localized environmental and social vulnerability data right down to the census tract level of Michigan. These tools gave a strong foundation for understanding which hazards matter most to local communities. Step 3, built environmental data helps you illustrate how physical systems are impacted by climate hazards. This includes stormwater infrastructure, road networks, critical facilities, housing conditions, and land use patterns. Indicators like the impervious surface ratio and tree canopy coverage are especially helpful understanding vulnerability to flooding and extreme heat. As an example, I included the 2024 Oakland County land use map. Demographic and health data help identify populations most vulnerable to climate impacts. This includes age-based vulnerability, poverty, rental housing status, race, language barriers, and disability. Health conditions like asthma or heart disease also increase sensitivity to hazards like heat and poor air quality. As an example, I included a map from St. Paul's Community Explorer showing the percentage of households without access to a vehicle. Next one is environmental hazard data helps identify areas at greater physical risk from climate impacts. This includes floodplains, urban heat islands, historical flooding, poor air quality, tree canopy deficiency, and proximity to pollution sources like highways or industrial sites. I included the FEMA National Risk Index for the Oakland County heat wave risk map. For the last one, the community resources play a key role in how well a community can respond to and recover from climate hazards. This includes the location of community and cooling centers, emergency shelters, access to public transit and healthcare, broadband internet availability, and the presence of local organizations or mutual aid groups. These resources strengthen a community's adaptive capacity and help support vulnerable populations during climate events. I also included a map from St. Paul households without broadband internet access as an example. So each hazard system pairing is structured using 5 key components. The first pairing refers to the system or sector affected. For example, public health in relation to extreme heat. Impact describes how the hazard affects the system. In this case, prolonged heat waves increasing the risk of heat exhaustion and stroke, especially for vulnerable populations. An adaptive measure outlines specific actions such as expanding access to cooling centers or creating a heat emergency response plan. And co-benefits refer to the additional advantages, for instance, improving community well-being and reducing emergency medical calls. And the needs indicate the resources or partnership required, like funding, transportation software, and multilingual outreach. Step 5 is a risk prioritization map. Matrix is used to visually compare the vulnerability of each hazard system pairing. This method helps highlight the most urgent risks, those with high impact and low capacity. The last step focuses on turning assessment findings into action. The toolkit outlines a range of strategies organized into 6 key categories. The first, there are short-term low-cost actions like tree planting, public outreach on cooling centers, and emergency responsible drills. These can be implemented quickly with limited resource. And next, long-term investment strategies focus on building lasting resilience, such as developing resilience hubs, upgrading green infrastructure, and updating land use policies to avoid high-risk areas. And equity remains a core priority. Equity-based strategies include improving language access, ADA compliance, and prioritizing frontline communities in all adaptation initiatives. The toolkit also highlights the importance of funding and resource identification, recommending local funding streams, grant opportunities like FEMA BRIC, and public-private partnerships. To ensure that efforts are sustained, the framework includes monitoring and adaptive management, setting measurable indicators, regularly updating data, and incorporating community feedback. So finally, partnership and collaboration are essential. Strong relationship across sectors and with community-based organizations help build trust and implement solutions that reflect local needs.